Yo, what's good, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. Tyrant's Bane here. Welcome to the Definition of Anarchy channel, where today, on April 29, 2021, I'm going to discuss a portion of Joe Biden's address to Congress, all right, where he appeals to emotion and, uses pathos to try to push bullshit, and how he uses the lives of, the deaths of certain people to try to push an agenda. Okay, so, and how he doubles down on the lies in regards to the history of the Second Amendment in this country. Okay, so let's start with the video. Wow, this is going to be a tough one.
We have to come together to heal the soul of this nation. It was nearly a year ago, before her father's funeral, when I spoke with Gianna Floyd, George Floyd's young daughter. She's a little tyke, so I was kneeling down to talk to her.
Keep Joe Biden away from your children.
So I could look her in the eye. She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world." Well, after the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen...
Dude hasn't been sentenced yet, so let's slow our roll on that one and find out what's really going to happen.
Just on the neck of Black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress. The vast majority of men and women wearing a uniform and a badge serve our communities, and they serve them honorably. I know.
Let's talk about that. No, they don't. Okay? They don't serve it honorably because guess why? Because when they put that uniform on and go out on patrol and harass people and extort them and do all these other things and enforce unconstitutional laws, there's no honor in that. We're not going to have a gray area when it comes to honor. You understand what I'm saying? If you serve in a uniform and you're enforcing unconstitutional laws, you are not serving honorably. You are breaking your oath. Okay? You're breaking the oath you swore when you decided to put that badge and that uniform on and that gun. So no, I still don't know a cop that still exists as a cop today who has done anything honorable in uniform. I'm sorry. Either they're participating in the bad shit, or they're protecting their blue brothers who are doing the bad shit. They're holding up that thin blue line, that blue wall of silence, all that bullshit. Yeah, that's what those cops are doing. So you have indifferent cops and you have bad cops. Bad cops, indifferent cops. The indifferent cops are worse because they allow the bad cops to continue to do the bad shit. All right. And when they don't, they get fired for the most part. It was a little different. I'm gonna say that woman who was getting beat on the curb by that one guy, the other two cops pulled him off. That was a rare exception. So credit where credit is due. I'm glad they did it. But we'll see what happens to them. Maybe nothing, because it was two of them, and it was on camera, so it probably looked bad if they got fired or anything, any retaliation. Let's keep going.
I know they want. I know the people they serve. To root out systemic racism in our criminal justice system.
Root out systemic racism in the judicial system. Wait a minute. You were instrumental in creating a system of racism for black people, for people of color. When you wrote the '94 crime bill, right? Now you wrote it. You weren't the only one who participated in that. I mean, hell, your girl behind you, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, all these people, the Black Caucus, yes, they had a hand in bolstering the systemic racism through the judicial system that you're talking about. So to sit here and hear you talk about that like that, I mean, come on, man, come on. Just go ahead and admit that you were implicit in making that happen. Okay, let's just be real about it. Okay, all right.
Reform in George Floyd's name that passed the House already. I know Republicans have their own ideas and are engaged in a very productive discussions with Democrats in the Senate. We need to work together to find a consensus. But let's get it done next month, by the first anniversary of George Floyd's death.
Now, it would be great if there was some police reform that would strip away some of the protections that these police officers have when they do bad shit. Should they be protected when they do good shit, when they actually serve and protect the community? Hell yeah. But when they terrorize, brutalize, and otherwise maim and kill other people with impunity, that's when it's a problem. You understand what I'm saying? But you're really not going to have much change unless you change how they enforce laws, right? How they enforce, I don't even want to say laws, how they enforce morals, right? How they enforce moral actions, right? Or something. It can't be laws anymore, because man-made laws are the biggest problem we're facing in this country, because it gives the police something to enforce that should not be enforced, and it causes all kind of problems throughout the communities, throughout the country. So there has to be a change in that regard. You can't just reform the police, right? You have to reform the politics and the justice system that backs them up and that gives them the things to enforce. They don't create the laws. The cops don't create the laws. The lawmakers do. And the judges, they interpret the laws. And in the executive branch, they enforce the law. They don't make the laws. So it needs to change all the way down to the root. From the root. It needs to change from the root. Point blank in the period. You understand what I'm saying? Like I said, the system of laws that exist today, no good for this country. There's only a few things. There's only a few moral standings that need to exist in this world and within our communities. There's only a few. Okay, they're pretty cut and dry. Everything else will be in redundancy, right? Like it just would be, right? You hurt someone, you deliberately hurt someone, you gotta pay the consequences. You murder someone, you steal from someone, you violate someone's privacy, right? You slander people and cause them cause damages to where they lose business. There are many. There does not need to be millions, hundreds of thousands to millions of thousands and thousands of laws on the books. You could probably keep it down to 10. Not even 10 laws, 10 golden rules. You understand what I'm saying? 10 common sense moral standings. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, you it's not going to change much, right? Because they're still going to enforce unconstitutional laws, and you're still going to create unconstitutional laws for them to enforce. So let's keep going.
The country supports this reform, and Congress should act. We have a giant opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, real justice. And with the plans outlined tonight.
You want real justice? This one you need to enforce. This is one that the police need to enforce, and that you, the people, need to demand that the police enforce, or you enforce it. 18 U.S. Code 241 and 18 U.S. Code 242. Look it up. I've talked about it before. Everybody in that building that he's addressing, including himself, will be locked up in prison right now if that was enforced. So,
chance to root out systemic racism that plagues America and American lives in other ways.
You're instrumental in the systemic racism. If the systemic racism exists, and you know what's funny to me? How black conservatives and other people who want to they go so hard to deny systemic racism, they acknowledge that the Democratic Party, the people in the Democratic Party, the white paternalists, right? The white elites in the Democratic Party are the racists. But they're in charge of a system, and they use that system to implement that. So how can you deny systemic racism and in the same breath say, oh, well, the Democrat, you acknowledge systemic racism when it comes to Democrats. So let's talk about that. Not right now, but let's talk about that in the future, because I'm gonna go through some videos and I'm gonna point that out, how a lot of these people, a lot of these liars deny systemic racism, but then say, well, the Democrats are the racist. They do this, they do that through their system of politics and this and well, what do you call that? Systemic racism. But let's move on. Shit.
Equity.
Fuck out of here.
Good jobs, good schools, affordable housing, clean air, clean water, being able to generate wealth and pass it down through generations because you have access to purchase a house. Real opportunities in the lives of more Americans, black, white, Latino, Asian Americans, Native Americans. Look.
You want more opportunity for these people? You want more opportunity for these people? Abolish the government. Okay, let's start with that. First, let's start by decentralizing the government, give the state powers back to the states, and go from there. You know what I'm saying? And then allow the states to be truly, I'm talking about truly, the power of the states are within the people that live within the state, not the governor. I've talked about this before. State power applies to the people of that state. The state is just comprised of all the people that live within it, all the constituents. The governor is just a representative, not even a representative because he's an executive. He's an executive of the state, but he doesn't rule the state. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't dictate what goes on in the states. He's a figurehead. He ensures he's the face of the state, right? We send you to converse with these other states and whoever else you need to converse with, what we want. And that's how it should work, including with the representatives, the legislators. All right. If you want that, then you have to just, you have to break it all down, decentralize and move on from there.
I want to thank the United States Senate for voting 94-1 to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act to protect Asian American and Pacific Islanders.
Isn't it beautiful how they tie shit together that really have no synergy, right? The COVID-19, I can't even. Now, I'm just saying that because YouTube, because he said it. It wasn't me, moderators. He's using the word COVID-19. I'm using it too because he said it. And I'm not saying anything about COVID-19 right now. What I'm talking about is how he tied that to racism against Asians and Pacific Islanders. Last I checked, there was already a Civil Rights Act where you can't discriminate and do this, do that based on the color of someone's skin. That's already on the books. You don't need to add anything else to it. It's already hate. If you commit a crime against someone, that is a form of hate in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? Whether you hate the person because they're black or white, or you hate them because they have something that you have, which is something that you want to take from them. That's hate. Whether you hate them because you want to kill them because they got more money than you or because you're a psychopath, there's a level of hatred already in your heart that we don't need hate crime laws. Like, come on. It's just, every time they create a law, it's just more money that comes out of our pockets. You understand what I'm saying? More money that comes out of our pockets, more control that goes to the state, that goes to the federal government. It's just absolutely ridiculous. We don't need a law like that. Okay. There's no law specifically to protect black people at all. Right? we had the Civil Rights Act, and that wasn't just for black people, right? Affirmative action, people think that was just for black people. No, it didn't say anything specifically about black people. It said that you have to have a certain ratio of this, that, and the third, which is, I think, is wrong, right? You shouldn't dictate to businesses how they should hire, who they should hire. It's up to the business. If you have a white business owner and that white business owner only want to hire white people, if you have a Hispanic business owner and that Hispanic business owner only wants to hire Hispanic people, if you have a black business owner and that black business owner only wants to hire black people, you know, that's on them. And if you can't get a job with these whites or Hispanic and you black, then go find a black business owner to hire you or start your own business. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with affirmative action. I don't agree with it because it's just too much. It's the government doing too much. All right.
You acted decisively. You can see on television the viciousness of the hate crimes we've seen over the past year and for too long. I urge the House to do the same and send that legislation to my desk, which I will gladly, anxiously sign.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I also hope Congress will get to my desk the Equality Act to protect LGBTQ Americans.
Didn't Obama do some shit for the LGBT? Come on, man. Come on. Now look at all this. All these black people that ride this man's dick. He has yet to say that there needs to be a Black Person Equality Act or this, that, and the third. Like, he won't do it. They will not do it. Stop looking to these people to do something special for you. Black people, they're not going to do it. You got to do it for yourself. All right?
Watching at home, especially young people. You're so brave. I want you to know your president has your back. Another thing. Let's authorize the Violence Against Women Act, which has been law for 27.
Here we go. Now, see, he was smooth on this one. The Violence Against Women Act. How can you disagree? You can't disagree with the violence against women, right? How could you disagree with something that would go against violence against women? You can't do it. So guess what they tie into it? You'll see. And this is another thing. Violence Against Women Act, but there's already laws against violence against anybody. There's laws against violence against people in general. Why specifically women? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, it's already a crime to beat on people. It's already a crime to kill people. It's already a crime to abuse another human being. It's already a crime against that. Wow. If y'all don't see this, I don't know what to tell you.
27 years ago, I wrote it. It'll close the act that has to be authorized now. Will close the boyfriend loophole to keep guns out of the hands of abusers. The court order said this is an abuser. You can't own a gun.
Here we go. Appealing to emotion, appealing to women to push gun control, right? Where now this thing is, you know, if you have a history of domestic violence, you can't own a gun. But it's not even just domestic violence. If you have a domestic call, if you have a call, let's say you're arguing with your woman, things get really loud and somebody throws something. There's no abuse going on. You guys are both giving it and taking it, right? And then maybe something falls over, or she throws something, you throw something, but you don't hit each other. And the neighbor is like, "Oh, I'm calling the police on him." The police go to your house. Boom. That's a domestic call right there. And now the male is targeted as the individual who can't own a gun. I mean, yes, it will also involve actual abusers, right? Actual abusers. But if that man is determined, it's determined that dude did abuse that woman, then they're going to go to prison, right? The woman's going to press charges, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? That woman's going to be extricated from that woman's life. He's going to serve time, and he's probably already going to be on the NCIS as someone who cannot own a firearm. You understand what I'm saying? So why are we doing this? Well, because they want to take firearms from people who just had calls come out, or who a woman can be bitter and spiteful and go do this and file a restraining order, even though he's done nothing to her physically or even emotionally. She's mad because he cheated on her or something like that. This shit happens. So now he can't own a firearm because his woman's mad because he cheated on her. This is what can happen with this. Otherwise, they wouldn't need it. If it was actual abuse where a woman was actually harmed, then the dude is going to go to prison, or he should go to prison. So what? Why are we doing this? Because it's just easier to take firearms from people. And you have to tie it to something like, oh, we're protecting women, so we have to do this. We have to add this in there. Come on, man. It's nonsense.
That existed. You know, it's estimated that 50 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner every month in America. 50 a month. Let's pass it and save some lives.
50 a month. Let me see how many that is. 50 a month. That 52 months, 12 months. I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to do some fact checking. I'm not just gonna believe this shit he's spewing out of his mouth. I know I should be able to do it in my head, but I don't feel like it right now. 50 times 12, 600. I don't know. I'll look into it. He might be right about that. I don't know. That's bad. Now that's bad. Now let me tell y'all this. That woman should be empowered, right? They should be able to help themselves, because even if you do this thing where you close the boyfriend loophole, he could still get a hold of a firearm or even a knife or something to kill this woman. So she needs to be empowered and be able to defend herself. She needs to get trained. She needs to have her own firearm. She needs, come on. That's something that she can keep under the pillow. So we should be protecting people's rights to keep and bear arms so that woman can be empowered to, guess what? Save her life from an abusive boyfriend. And guess how many women save their lives each year with a firearm? 200,000. How many people in general? They say anywhere from 500,000 to 3 million times a year a firearm is used to defend someone. That's much more than 600 a year. Not to diminish those women's lives, but if we empowered women, if we empowered the people more and took away all this gun control, that number would be way down, I believe. You understand what I'm saying? People think the number's going to go up, but it's not. It's going to go down.
I need not tell anyone this, but gun violence has become an epidemic in America. The flag at the White House was...
No, it's not an epidemic. To have an epidemic, 1% of 200,000 people every 2 weeks have to be affected, right? During the 2 week period, right? So for that period of time that this so-called epidemic is going on, 1% of 200,000 people or something like that. I broke it down. I broke down the numbers. I go back and look at my other videos where I broke down the whole shit, okay? What an epidemic has to be. What's the definition of an epidemic? Well, it has to affect 1% of 200,000 people every 2 weeks or something like that. So over a year, let's say. So 1% of 200,000, that's 200 people, right? I believe. All right. Okay. I don't want to care. Okay. So 200,000. Wait, no. Can't do that. You got to do 0.01 divided by 200,000. No. You multiply that. I'm tripping. 0.001. Wait, 0.01 times 200,000. That's 2,000. 1% of 200,000 people every 2 weeks. right? So it has to affect 200,000 people every 2 weeks. Okay, so let's every 2 weeks. Let's 52. Let's say 200,000 or 2,000 times. What's half of 52? 2.5 times 2,000. Uh, 25 weeks. I'm sorry. What 52 times divided by 2? 26 times 2,000. 52,000 people. Okay. So let's say you have there's 46,000 deaths per 40,000 deaths per year. Not even close. I mean, you're over by 12,000. So, you know, I mean, you need 52,000 people dead for it to be an epidemic. It has to be 52,000 people dead each year with the use of firearms. I'm not even going to talk about people getting wounded or whatever. No, I'm not. No. People get shot. You know, people stub their toes. Yeah, it's pretty bad to get shot, but I'm not diminishing that. But what I'm saying is, it's not close. All right, and considering that 2/3 of that of that 40,000 is suicide. So if you take away that 2/3, you know, people are doing this to themselves. 2/3 of firearm deaths each year are through suicide. But when you take that 40,000 from the almost 3 million lives saved from the use of fire, 3 million times a year that a firearm is used in the defense of another person, I mean, it's a non-factor. It's a non-factor. Up to 3 million times a year, a person is defended by the use of a firearm, as opposed to 40,000 people dying each year. 2/3 of that suicide. Come on, it's not an epidemic. It's bullshit.
Mass. For the 8 victims of the mass shooting in Georgia, when 10 more lives were taken in the mass shooting in Colorado.
I'm going to have to do a part 2 of this. It went a little longer than I thought. I'll do a part 2 because he'll start getting into the lies about the Second Amendment and all this other shit. So I really need to cover that. But I'll talk to you guys in a minute. Like, share, subscribe. Peace out.